Ukraine shatters Russia's air defenses as $420 million Su-34 bomber hub erased instantly. Today, Ukraine delivered one of its most precise and humiliating airstrikes of the war, erasing a fortified Russian Su-34 bomber hub in less than 9 seconds and inflicting an estimated $420 million in combined aircraft, infrastructure, radar, and fuel munitions losses. The attack proved that even Russia's most sophisticated air defense grid can collapse when timings, terrain, and deception converge. What began as a low-altitude gamble by two aging Su-27 fighters became a strategic breakthrough, exposing vulnerabilities at the very core of Russia's air war doctrine. To understand how Ukraine achieved this against impossible odds, the story must begin from the first moment of action. At 4:42 a.m., two Ukrainian Su-27 flankers lifted off from Ozernoye Air Base, their afterburners sketching faint blue arcs across the pre-dawn sky. The mission objective was clear: penetrate deep towards the Belgorod frontier, remain hidden, and strike a Su-34 maintenance and rearmament depot located just 18 miles north of the Ukrainian border near Valuiki. That installation serviced frontline Russian strike aircraft and stored racks of guided munitions, each priced between $100,000 and $200,000, along with fuel reserves worth around $1 million. Neutralizing this depot meant grounding an entire bomber rotation for weeks. Each Ukrainian Su-27, Cold War relics once valued above $20 million, had been carefully restored with modern navigation suites and electronic warfare upgrades. Under the wings of the trailing aircraft rested two UMPK-equipped FAB 5000 glide bombs, each costing under $50,000, designed to deliver large warheads with low-budget precision. The jets leveled at 300 feet, skimming valleys and cutting through fog to remain invisible to Russian radar. Ahead of them waited the vast and expensive Russian air defense grid, a system worth hundreds of millions that could wipe them from the sky in seconds if detected. The flight remained silent. No chatter, no radar emissions, only the quiet hum of engines echoing across sleeping terrain. The Russian defenses, some of which would soon contribute to a $420 million tally in destroyed and disabled assets, were unaware that two Ukrainian pilots were about to test the limits of their vigilance. As the Su-27s advanced, they flew directly towards one of the densest defensive corridors in the region. Less than 12 miles north of Valuiki, an S-400 Triumph battery occupied a raised plateau, its 91 N6E Big Bird radar scanning more than 250 miles when unobstructed. Inside its protective ring stood two Pantsir S-1 systems, each armed with autocannons and missile pods designed to eliminate low-flying jets. Above them circled a Russian A-50 AWACS at 26,000 feet, feeding its surveillance data into the defensive network. On a typical night, this tri-layered grid rendered Belgorod airspace nearly impenetrable. But the Ukrainian pilots understood the nature of defensive systems. No matter how expensive, no matter how complex, all have gaps. Terrain masking, atmospheric clutter, and human complacency combine to open fleeting corridors of opportunity. If they could slip through these cracks, they could destroy a facility worth hundreds of millions of dollars and undermine a key pillar of Russia's air campaign. To breach the S-400's radar curtain, the Su-27s descended to just 100 feet, flying nap of the earth across rolling terrain. At this altitude, even a slight miscalculation risked clipping treetops or power lines, yet it was the only way to degrade radar returns. The lead jet, Viper 1, carried a refurbished SPS-141 jamming pod, an inexpensive Soviet-era device reprogrammed to inject scattered noise and unreliable Doppler signatures into the radar's processing loops. Its purpose was not to overwhelm the radar, but to leave its operators unsure of what was real. Trailing behind, Viper 2 carried the bombs that would determine the success of the mission. Two UMPK-guided FAB 5000s, low-cost alternatives to Western precision munitions, but capable of significant destruction. For Ukraine, this mission functioned as a calculated experiment in demonstrating that low-budget weapons, paired with deceptive tactics, could defeat high-budget defenses. At nearly 500 miles per hour, the jets cut through fog and valleys, each ridge increasing the tactical tension. 10 minutes from the target, Viper 1 activated the SPS-141 jammer, instantly filling Russian radar scopes with erratic phantom tracks. Operators hesitated, assessing whether the contacts represented birds, weather clutter, or actual threats. Meanwhile, Viper 2 began a careful climb to prepare for a toss bomb release arc. The altitude had to be tuned precisely. Too low and the bombs would miss their glide window. Too high and Russian SAMs would engage. At 4:51 a.m., with the depot 26 miles ahead, the operation entered its most dangerous phase. Viper 1 climbed to 600 feet and activated a customized Kibini-M decoy pod. It projected a swarm of false radar signatures, multiple jets at different altitudes converging towards the same point. On Russian screens, it appeared as a coordinated attack group. The S-400 battery paused, unwilling to fire without confirmation. At 12 miles out, a Pantsir S-1 battery opened fire. 2 surface-to-air missiles streaked towards the formation. The Ukrainian pilots executed a defensive routine. Bursts of infrared flares and clouds of radar reflective chaff. Both missiles veered off and detonated harmlessly. Above them, the A-50 continued scanning, but suffered repeated tracking dropouts, losing and regaining the contacts every 7 to 10 seconds. Terrain, jamming interference, and the deceptive echo patterns created a flickering mosaic rather than a stable track. That instability gave the Su-27s the window they needed. At 4:55 a.m., Viper 2 climbed rapidly to 5,000 feet to execute a precision toss maneuver. As the aircraft crested the ridge, the A-50 finally achieved a stable lock, but the bombs had already left the pylons, separating, extending their wings, and settling onto a pre-computed glide path toward the Su-34 depot. Seconds later, Viper 2 dropped back under the radar horizon, while the weapons coasted silently through the pre-dawn sky, far too late for Russian operators to attempt an interception. The first bomb punched through the hangar roof and detonated above the maintenance bay. 4 Su-34 fullback bombers in various stages of repair were torn apart, engines ripped free, wings crushed, fuselages folded from the overpressure. The destruction represented the single largest portion of Russia's loss, about $300 million in aircraft alone. The second bomb detonated in the fuel and munitions staging area. 3 tanker trucks carrying aviation-grade kerosene and multiple crates of air-to-ground missiles ignited instantly. A fireball more than 300 feet high erupted, engulfing scaffolding, fencing, and vehicles. The explosion added another $40 million in destroyed fuel, munitions, and equipment, along with structural damage across the depot. By 4:56 a.m., the facility was drowning in fire and shockwaves. Secondary detonations reverberated as missiles cooked off and jet fuel reservoirs collapsed. Russian crews scrambled to evacuate, but thick smoke reduced visibility to near zero. More importantly, the blast damaged the nearby 91 N6E Big Bird radar array. The shockwave and overpressure fried the cooling systems and disrupted internal calibration, forcing the S-400 battery offline for more than 36 hours. Repair estimates put the damage at roughly $80 million, pushing total Russian losses toward the final $420 million figure. At 5:10 a.m., the Valuki support base had collapsed from a fully functioning forward aviation hub into a smoldering ruin. Where Russia had stored aircraft, fuel, and munitions, only debris and firestorms remained. 2 Ukrainian aircraft, reborn Cold War fighters, equipped with inexpensive glide bombs and reprogrammed ECM pods, had dismantled a strategic node in Russia's air war machine. As smoke drifted across Belgorod airspace, Russian personnel momentarily believed they had suffered a drone attack, but the strike had been manned, deliberate, and executed within minutes. This struck at the heart of Russia's evolving air defense doctrine. For months, Russia's defensive planning prioritized countering UAV swarms and cruise missiles. But this operation demonstrated that Ukraine had quietly reintroduced a manned hit-and-run strike strategy, using legacy fighters, reimagined for modern warfare. The Su-27s involved in the raid were fast, durable, and no longer considered competitive in modern air combat. Yet Ukraine had given them new life. Digital ECM suites, terrain-following navigation, and UMPK glide kits that converted unguided bombs into precision weapons. Each modification cost a fraction of the cost of Western equivalents, yet produced devastating results. This was not about superior technology. It was about timing, terrain, deception, and the ability to adapt legacy equipment faster than an opponent could predict. The implications for Russia were profound. If two Su-27s could punch through one of the most advanced air defense networks in Europe, then no installation, not even hardened rear area bases, could consider itself safe. 4 frontline bombers were lost in minutes, a depot reduced to ash, a long-range radar array was silenced, and across Belgorod, emergency vehicles converged on a base that had contributed heavily to Russia's strike operations. The symbolic defeat was as powerful as the material one. Russia's claim of air defense invincibility had been disproven by 2 aircraft older than many of the missiles fired at them. Ukraine had demonstrated a formula capable of scaling, low-cost platforms achieving high-impact results. The success of 2 aircraft also raised the question of what a larger formation could accomplish using the same methods. The pilots vanished into morning fog, leaving behind wreckage, fire, and a rewritten understanding of the air war. Today's strike inflicted approximately $420 million in Russian losses, destroyed bombers, fuel depots, munitions, radar systems, and infrastructure, while showcasing Ukraine's ability to reshape the battlefield through precision, deception, and tactical innovation. The operation raised a broader question. If Ukraine can achieve this with aging aircraft and upgraded low-cost munitions, what new limits are left for its resurgent air force to break next? Share your thoughts below.